This is Dead Serious, a show about short horror stories worthy of discussion. I'm Dead Palette, and it's Halloween month ratings. Today we're taking a look at a creepypasta wiki story entitled CB Radio. Let's get right into it. I was quite young back when we were fooling around with my dad's old CB radio. If I recall correctly, I was 16 when I pulled it down from the attic in the house, and I found myself asking about it at the dinner table that night. He explained what it was. I could communicate on short wave radio around the area. He offered to set it up and show me how it worked. So far, this is written like a very traditional, old-school creepypasta meant to be copied and pasted around the internet. Very straightforward in language, premise centering around some sort of unique object. An antiquated object at that. I'm pretty interested to see where this goes. Now, this was the age before the internet, so my friend Tom and I were fairly excited to be using it. The unit sat in my bedroom for a few months, and we had fun trying to talk to the truckers out on the highway, or the various farmers or herders nearby. Many just ignored us, or jumped frequency. We jumped through them all and speak to anyone who would answer. Alright, realistic, these kids are trying to talk to adults and the adults are just doing what they do and ignoring them, alright. On channel 29, we began talking with someone who seemed to be around our age. He said his name was Bobby. We hardly got further than cracking jokes and talking about playing pranks and giving fake traffic reports at first. It was all pretty exciting, but eventually, after a month or two, we agreed to meet up with Bobby. Damn it, Bobby. We asked for an address, and he told us he lived on a farm just off Harris Road, about 15 or 16 miles out of town. So far, I'm really a fan of the premise of this story, and I'm really hoping that there's a good payoff, because it feels like it's building to a payoff. It's a very mundane, bloggy kind of feel. I love it. This is the exact kind of setup that I like in a story, especially talking about playing pranks and making fake traffic reports. That's the kind of shit that kids do. I love it. So Tom took his parents' car one overcast Saturday afternoon, and as the rain broke out, we made our way down to the highway and pulled off where we'd heard Harris Road was. Okay, I can't be the only person who was thinking that these people were younger than like 16 or so. I thought these were like kids, not young adults. Nearing a split county road, we spied the name of the farm on an old wooden sign that Bobby had told us about over the radio. We pulled up through the drive and took the car right up to the farmhouse, expecting to see him waiting for us. Instead, we were faced with an run-down, dilapidated farmhouse, towered over by what appeared to be a barn falling over its struts. Common sense should have told us to leave, but despite initial confusion, we were convinced that Bobby merely hung out there, that he told us that he had found the old radio system in a barn, where he usually told us he was when he talked to us. Alright, it feels like we're setting up for this was a ghost all along, and that's fine and everything, but I feel as though this paragraph specifically was a little too forward with what's going to happen. Maybe they shouldn't have been surprised that it was a dilapidated farmhouse. Might have been better if instead this dilapidated farmhouse was what they were expecting, and they were just told that this was what was going on, and that this is where he hung out, and then they investigate and find a ghost. That's my mindset. We got out of the car and crunched across the old stone pathway to the barn, pushing the huge doors open with a deafening creak. We called out Bobby's name, heard nothing, and debated looking further. Eventually, we decided to head in, Tom leading the way. Upon rounding the first corner, we found the old radio system sitting up on an old workbench, still online, with the numbers displaying lit up and the receiver still crackling away with static. But it was the rotted human bones laying across the workbench that made us run. Now that's a solid ending. I enjoy it. I like it because it is completely possible that this was a prank being played on the kids, that they got some kind of realistic-looking skeleton and put it at a seat next to the CB radio, and the kids were playing a prank, pranking people with fake traffic reports and everything. So the result of that was some trucker who was disgruntled about it decided to play a prank on the kids and put a Halloween skeleton in there or something next to the CB radio, and just had a relative child play the part of Bobby. So this story is completely really realistic, and that's something that I really like. There's nothing about this that is impossible, really, even though the result is a rotting human corpse next to a functional CB radio. This is credited to Scotty from Terra Torellini. Terra Torellini is the pretty much defunct forum site that was going there for a while, that had a thriving Ashcan-style creepypasta community. Scrolling down to the comments from Empire of Narnia, too predictable, I saw that coming a mile away, and Celtic Frost 80 should have chosen a more sadistic ending, but good short pasta. Yeah, the story is a bit predictable, and I think you can make the story more unpredictable with some of the ways that I suggested, getting rid of the shock that they have upon seeing the dilapidated building. In terms of more sadistic ending, I don't know, but I certainly feel like this would not be a hard story to pad out and to modify and make more interesting by talking about the actual radio conversations and giving more details. The story could be 5 times as long with 5 times as much detail and probably have more impact to allow your mind to wander away from the most predictable conclusion. And you could kind of take this realistic bent that I was suggesting, where instead of having it be a literal rotting corpse, it could have been a prank, or it could not have been, and leave it ambiguous in some way. But I'm certainly interested to see what people have to think about this story, whether they thought it was lackluster. The people in the comments on the wiki certainly think it was, but I think its skeleton is so good that I'm willing to forgive its quibbles. Now, if you enjoyed that, please consider helping out the community and supporting my channel. You can support the community by conversing in the comments below, going to 2spooky.com for original horror stories, and trying your hand at short horror yourself. You can support me by liking this video, following me on Twitter and Tumblr, links in the description, and checking out my art page, which is also down below. Thank you so much for your time, and now on to our sponsor at this non-moment in time, which is Necco Wafers. Necco Wafers. They're basically antacids. Oh my god, who eats this?